Hey there guys, how you doing? It's Sam here, and today I just want to take you through the basics of counting calories. Should you do it, and based off of where you are at the minute with your fitness, whether it's relevant to you or not. It is well worth a watch this, as it's the very basics of weight loss. So I'd sit down, give this a watch. It won't be too long. I'm sure you'll all take something away from this. Okay, so to begin with, just a quick quote for you. Sort of saying, should you count calories? It's you don't have to count calories, but it's in the same way you don't have to look at your speedometer when you're in a car. If you're getting caught speeding quite a lot, it's probably a good idea to start paying attention to the speed you're doing into the clock. Basically, what this means is if you find that you are gradually putting on weight over the last few years, it's probably time that you start paying attention to your calories. If you're in a good place where you are with your health, with your fitness, if you find that you don't have to pay attention to it and your weight isn't drifting off, then it's probably not as important for you. This is something that I follow myself, and it's what I've called the tracking triangle. And it's effectively, I rotate throughout the year between three areas of being very strict, of half tracking my calories, and then where I couldn't care less. Now, to give you an idea, I tend to spend about 80% of my time in the half tracking area, and then 10% in the couldn't care less and the very strict. Basically, the way it works with me, and the way I tend to recommend it to a lot of people, is when you first start, when you first get going, when you first start a new program, is to start in the very strict areas. This means that you're counting calories, you're paying attention to what you're eating, you're cutting out as much of the crap as possible. You're not drinking booze, you're not eating sweets. You're still enjoying the food you're eating. This doesn't mean you're cutting everything you enjoy, but you are really tracking everything. The reason for this is it just gets you in those good habits. It gets you used to what you should be eating. It gets you used to what the calorie level of certain foods are. Because a lot of the time we don't actually know how many calories in certain foods until we start this tracking, and then we realize we go, oh right, okay, I should stay away from that. I tend to say sort of 6 to 12 weeks, depending on where you have to stay in this area. Anything past that, it starts becoming a little bit difficult, but it's tough. So from there, I tend to come down into the half tracking, and tends to be when I'm happy with where I am, with my fitness, with the way I look, and effectively with where I am with my weight. I spend most of my time here, so effectively I still track a few things. I still weigh out certain bits and pieces of food. I'm still eating well. I don't, at this point, I'm not then swapping over and eating crap, but I probably drink every other week. I probably have a packet of sweets every week, sort of in and around football. I'm not restricting anything really. If I want something, I'll have it. I'm still, mentally keeping track of calories a little bit. So that is then my day-to-day life, and this is where most of you should try and aim to get to. You don't want to be tracking calories your entire life. It's boring. We've got better lives to lead. But also, you don't want to be in where a lot of us are at the minute, where a lot of people start, which is they couldn't care less. This is where you don't think about it at all. You don't think about what you're eating. You don't care about how much you drink, and it's not even a thought process. It's not that you don't care. It's just not a thought process for you. If something's at work, you eat it. If someone invites you out for a meal, you go out, and it's just where you're at. For me, this tends to be at Christmas and on holidays. These are the two times that I end up in this couldn't care less area. And what I find is, particularly with my body type, as soon as I enter this, very quickly my body sort of just shifts in shape, and you can see when I'm in this phase, I put on quite a lot of weight quite quickly, which is why I then come back around to that very strict, and the whole thing cycles round. But like I said, your aim really is to be in the half tracking area for as long as possible. Give yourself patches throughout the year of where you sort of saying I couldn't care less. Around birthdays, around holidays, around Christmas, that's fine. But be aware that because of that, you then do have to go back to that very strict state. To really get yourself back into the routine of it, and get yourself going again. If you just bounce back and forth between half tracking and couldn't care less, that's when you'll gradually start creeping up, because you haven't got that period where you're undoing the damage you've done during the couldn't care less phase. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So now we've gathered that so at some points you are going to have to track calories depending on when you are. Just a few simple ways of actually how to do this. The number one way, and the very easiest way, is through apps like MyFitnessPal. I highly recommend it. I've got a video around here on how to use MyFitnessPal. Go take a look at that. It's just get back into the habit of actually using it. It's got literally every food you could want in it. You can set your calorie limits in there, and it's got barcode scanners, so you can scan in foods that you're having, and it makes it very, very easy. If for whatever reason you don't want to be using an app, You can do old school, which is just a food diary. This is a sort of it's a little bit easier in some ways because you're not actually writing down the calories, you're just writing down what you're eating. This can be quite a good way when you're first starting and you want to know, you want to actually keep yourself accountable a little bit. Just keep a list of every single thing that you eat. Just keep a list of it, and it can be very surprising with actually what you are eating without even being aware of it. Because I speak to a lot of people and they go, "Oh yeah, my diet's very good," and then get them to do this, and they soon realise that actually they're not eating that great, and this just helps them nudge them in the right direction. And then the last one is sort of an old, very old school way of I used to do it before the apps was an Excel spreadsheet. So I would just make a list of all the foods I used to eat, mark down the calories against them, and then I would just do it in an Excel spreadsheet, and that way. Don't really recommend it, but it's something for you to do if you want to keep a digital record, but you don't want to use MyFitnessPal. Again, it's just a good way of doing it. It's a three very simple ways of doing it. I highly recommend MyFitnessPal, but there are other ways of doing it. Okay, and then just finally, I told you this is only going to be short. Just want to come on to the last point, which is weighing your food. This is probably mainly in the strict section, when you're being very strict with what you're doing. The main reason for doing this is a lot of the time we can be counting calories but miscounting them. I'm sure we've all done it with things like rice and with pasta, where we always cook far too much, and it's difficult for us to know exactly how many calories we're eating, and it's very easy for us to overdo it. There's been actually a few studies done. It shows we often underestimate how much we eat, and almost deliberately we try to fool ourselves. We're not aware that we're doing it, but it's just something that we do. And so by actually weighing food, you can make sure that you are spot on. You make sure everything you are doing is down to the letter, and you know exactly what's going into your body. The best things to do this with is what I refer to as pourable carbs. And what I mean by that is rice, pasta, cereals, anything like that. Even with snacks, if you're having, say, raisins, or if you're having nuts is the main one, anything that's sort of pourable, where it's tough to actually judge a portion size, I would just weigh it out. Again, it just gets you used to what a portion size should actually be, so you can start eyeballing things a little bit better. And then from there, it's things like your liquids. So, and you see your Coke, or your orange juice, or your milk, all that sort of stuff. Anything that has a calorie value as a liquid, again, I'll start to do it, because anything that's pourable, it's very easy for us to sort of, or to very underestimate what we're actually having it, and actually end up having too much. And then the last one that I recommend is for if you do any batch cooking, which I highly recommend is batch cooking, is to then just make sure you're portioning it out properly. Main reason for this is if, say, you do 7 meals worth of food, if you're over portioning, you're going to get through to day 7, you're not going to have enough, and you're going to end up being hungry on that day 7, and then that can lead to you snacking elsewhere because you haven't left yourself enough food. So that's just making sure that the food actually lasts as long as it should do, and it stops you eating too much there, really. So just a very quick overview of counting calories. Hopefully you'll take something away from that and decide now whether you should or shouldn't count calories. It's, for me, I say if you've never counted calories before in your life, give it a go as an exercise. You'll be surprised at what you are actually eating. You'll be surprised at how many calories are actually in certain stuff. And then once you get used to it, you can start toning it down again. Bring your life back to a balance, and then from there it's just keeping a rough eye on where your weight is, where your strength is, where your fitness level is, and if you find that it's starting to creep up again, go back to counting calories and just rotate around like that. I hope that's helped. If you have any questions, let me know either in the group, or drop me an email if you don't want to put it in the group. That's absolutely fine. Take care.